Hollywood didn't just create stars, it decided who was allowed to be desired and who had to be controlled. For decades, the industry built an illusion of celebration around beauty, while quietly enforcing rules about power, access, and permission. Curves were praised on some bodies, questioned on others, and deliberately ignored when they threatened the balance Hollywood was comfortable maintaining. Visibility was never neutral. For many women, especially black women, being seen came with conditions: how much desire was acceptable, how much authority was allowed, and how quickly admiration could turn into punishment. This is not a story about measurements or surface-level glamour. It is about who gets to be centered, who gets managed, and who pays the cost of standing fully in the light. At Legends of Black Excellence, we look past nostalgia to examine the structures behind fame, what Hollywood rewarded, what it restricted, and what it feared. If you're ready to question the myths, challenge the gatekeeping, and explore the real price of visibility, subscribe, stay with us, and join the conversation that refuses to fade quietly into history. Pam Grier, power the system couldn't contain. Pam Grier rose to prominence in the early 1970s as a force Hollywood could neither ignore nor fully control. Her screen presence was bold, physical, and unapologetically commanding. In films like Coffee and Foxy Brown, Grier didn't rely on suggestion or restraint. She led with authority, strength, and direct appeal, embodying a new kind of leading woman during a period of cultural and political upheaval. Hollywood marketed her as tough, desirable, and fearless, but that visibility came with limits. Studios quickly confined her success to the black exploitation genre, treating her impact as situational rather than transferable. As the genre faded, so did the opportunities. Roles diminished, and the familiar pattern emerged: celebration followed by abandonment. Yet Grier endured. In the 1990s, Jackie Brown reintroduced her to new audiences and reaffirmed what had always been true: her talent extended far beyond the box she was placed in. Pam Grier redefined what a leading woman could look like, proving that agency without permission can leave a lasting mark, and that endurance often matters just as much as arrival.
Dorothy Dandridge, glamour without protection. Dorothy Dandridge emerged in the 1940s and 1950s as a striking contradiction inside Hollywood's rigid system. She possessed undeniable glamour, a curvaceous figure, and an elegance that matched the era's most celebrated stars. Her breakthrough came with Carmen Jones, earning her a historic Academy Award nomination and positioning her as proof that Hollywood was finally opening its doors. But that image masked a harsher reality. Despite her beauty and talent, Dandridge was offered far fewer roles than her white contemporaries, many constrained by moral rules rooted in racial fear. She was told she was too glamorous for roles written for black women, yet too risky to be paired opposite white male leads. Her desirability was visible, but never fully allowed. As opportunities narrowed, the personal cost mounted. Financial instability, industry rejection, and relentless scrutiny. Hollywood profited from her image without protecting her career. Dorothy Dandridge's legacy lies not only in what she achieved, but in exposing how being first often meant standing alone. Her story remains a warning about visibility without support.
Eartha Kitt, when autonomy becomes a threat. Eartha Kitt entered American popular culture as something entirely her own. With a sharp silhouette, sensual confidence, and a voice that could command or tease at will, she defied easy categorization. Her success spanned film, music, stage, and international performance, making her one of the most recognizable entertainers of her era. Unlike many actresses shaped by studio control, Kitt projected self-authored confidence. That independence, however, unsettled Hollywood. The industry enjoyed her sexuality, but resisted her autonomy. When Kitt openly criticized U.S. foreign policy at a White House luncheon in 1968, the response was swift and unforgiving. Contracts disappeared, doors closed. Her American career was effectively derailed. Forced into professional exile, Kit rebuilt her life and career overseas, particularly in Europe, where audiences embraced her artistry without demanding silence. Though she later returned to U.S. screens in limited roles, the institutional support never fully returned. Eartha Kitt's legacy is not defined by scandal, but by authorship. She proved that sensuality and intellect could coexist, and revealed how quickly admiration turns to punishment when control is challenged.
Lola Falana, visibility built on vitality. Lola Falana rose to prominence in the late 1960s and 1970s as a symbol of confidence, movement, and unapologetic glamour. A gifted dancer with a striking figure and radiant presence, she captivated audiences on television, in film, and on Las Vegas stages. Her appeal was rooted in vitality, precision, and ease with her own body, success without mystery or restraint. Yet, Hollywood treated that physicality as the headline. While Falana appeared in films and high-profile specials, the industry rarely invested in her long-term development as a dramatic actress. She was welcomed as spectacle, not fully supported as a multidimensional performer. A turning point came in the 1980s when Falana was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. At a time when fame demanded constant physical performance, illness forced an abrupt withdrawal. She stepped away from the spotlight, redirecting her life toward recovery, faith, and privacy. Lola Falana's legacy lies in cultural presence rather than volume of roles. She embodied a form of Black femininity that audiences embraced, even as Hollywood struggled to sustain it. Proof that charisma can reshape perception, even when systems fail to follow through.
Tamara Dobson, strength Hollywood didn't know how to place. Tamara Dobson entered the public eye in the early 1970s with a presence that disrupted Hollywood's expectations. Tall, statuesque, and athletically built, she projected authority rather than delicacy. Her breakthrough as the lead in Cleopatra Jones presented something rare at the time, a Black woman positioned as the central force, not a side character or romantic accessory. Audiences embraced her elegance and power, but the industry hesitated. Dobson's physical confidence did not fit the submissive or ornamental roles typically written for women, particularly Black women. While admired, her strength was treated as intimidating rather than marketable. Hollywood confined her visibility to the Black exploitation genre, then failed to imagine her beyond it. As that era faded, opportunities narrowed. Rather than chase diminishing offers, Dobson chose self-determination, pursuing higher education and earning an MBA. Her legacy is not measured by screen time, but by what she revealed. How narrow Hollywood's imagination can become when confronted with a woman who refuses to shrink herself. Dobson expanded the frame, if only briefly, and exposed the limits that followed.
Juanita Moore. Recognition without advancement. Juanita Moore built her career during a period when Hollywood rarely allowed Black women to be complex, desirable, or fully developed on screen. In the 1950s, she was admired for her refined beauty, graceful figure, and quiet authority. Her most recognized success came with Imitation of Life, which earned her an Academy Award nomination, a rare acknowledgement for a Black actress of that era. Yet, recognition did not translate into opportunity. Moore's talent was praised, but her range was denied. Studios repeatedly cast her in maternal or domestic roles, reinforcing a ceiling she could not break through. While white actresses were marketed as aspirational and glamorous, Moore's presence was treated as respectable but limited. As the industry shifted in the 1960s, meaningful roles grew scarce. Rather than disappear, Moore chose persistence, continuing to work while speaking candidly about systemic exclusion. Her legacy lies in endurance and truth. Juanita Moore exposed a central contradiction of classic Hollywood, the ability to celebrate Black excellence while refusing to expand space for it.
Diahann Carroll, elegance with conditions. Diahann Carroll entered Hollywood projecting refinement, intelligence, and effortless glamour. From the start, she was framed as a symbol of progress, an image reinforced by her groundbreaking role in Julia, which made her the first black woman to star in a U.S. television series not centered on servitude. Yet that carefully polished image came with strict limits. While white actresses with similar appeal were openly marketed as sex symbols, Carol's beauty and curves were handled cautiously. Hollywood wanted her elegance, but not her sensual freedom. She was expected to reassure, to be flawless, and to represent an entire community without error. Carol later spoke openly about the pressure of perfection and the isolation of being both celebrated and constrained. Though she achieved historic milestones, sustained creative control remained elusive. Her legacy reveals a hard truth: visibility does not equal freedom. Diahann Carroll expanded what was possible on screen, even as the industry insisted on controlling how far that expansion could go.
Lynette McKee, beauty the system couldn't label. Lynette McKee emerged in the early 1970s with a presence that felt modern, understated, and quietly magnetic. Naturally curvaceous and emotionally grounded, she stood out in sparkle not through spectacle, but through warmth and authenticity. Her appeal wasn't engineered, it was felt, and that subtlety became her challenge. Hollywood operates on extremes. McKee didn't fit neatly into the hypersexualized mold, nor was she safely desexualized into the background. While her beauty aligned with conventional standards, studios hesitated to market her as a sex symbol, redirecting her into nurturing or secondary roles instead. Opportunities appeared, but rarely with momentum or long-term investment. As trends shifted, her visibility declined despite consistent talent. Rather than chase imposed images or tabloid narratives, McKee maintained integrity, choosing roles that aligned with her sense of self. Her legacy lies in restraint. Lynette McKee represents how exclusion can be quiet, how careers are shaped not by failure, but by an industry's inability to imagine complexity without exaggeration.
Teresa Randall's The Slow Disappearance of Opportunity. Teresa Randall entered Hollywood in the early 1990s with a grounded, mature presence that felt natural rather than manufactured. Her performances in Malcolm X, Bad Boys, and Beverly Hills Cop 3 established her as credible, calm, and emotionally steady. She looked like someone who belonged on screen without explanation. Yet Hollywood treated her as support rather than center. Randall was often cast as the grounding partner or stabilizing presence for male leads, rarely as the engine of desire or narrative momentum. Her curvaceous figure fit classic ideals, but it was acknowledged quietly, then strategically ignored. As the industry pivoted toward younger faces and louder archetypes, Randall's roles became sporadic. There was no scandal or collapse, just omission. Her career reveals a subtle truth about Hollywood's exclusions. Sometimes opportunity doesn't vanish abruptly, it simply stops being offered. Teresa Randall's legacy is defined by what was withheld, not what was lacking.
Vanessa Williams, reclaiming power after punishment. Vanessa Williams entered the public eye in the early 1980s with unprecedented visibility. Crowned Miss America in 1984, she embodied poise, intelligence, and classic glamour. Her statuesque figure and composure signaled institutional approval, until that approval vanished overnight. After the unauthorized release of nude photographs taken years earlier, Williams faced intense backlash and resigned her title. The response revealed a double standard. Admiration turned into moral punishment, and her body became grounds for exile. Rather than disappear, Williams rebuilt from outside the gatekeeper's protection. She redirected her career toward music and acting, achieving major success with albums like The Comfort Zone and earning critical respect across film, television, and Broadway. Over time, she transformed controversy into credibility. Yet the early narrative lingered, shaping how her confidence and beauty were interpreted.
Vanessa Williams' legacy is one of reclamation. She proved that talent can outlast institutional rejection and exposed how quickly success becomes conditional when control over image shifts. Her career challenges Hollywood's uneven rules around forgiveness, power, and who is allowed to return fully restored. At Secrets of Black Star, these stories were never about rankings or measurements. They were about legacy, about how Hollywood learned to profit from Black beauty while hesitating to fully honor Black authority, range, and longevity. Again and again, we see the same contradiction. Visibility offered without protection, celebration granted without sustained support, and success framed as temporary rather than foundational. Each woman in this series revealed a pattern that extends beyond individual careers. When beauty aligned with control, it was rewarded. When it came paired with autonomy, intellect, or power, it was managed, confined, or quietly withdrawn. The lesson is not simply historical, it remains urgent. Progress without structural change is not freedom. It is a conditional invitation. So we end with a question that refuses easy answers. If these women had been supported rather than managed, how different would film history look today? And more importantly, how many similar stories are still unfolding now? Share your thoughts in the comments. Challenge the narrative. Keep the debate alive. Because Black excellence deserves more than applause. It deserves permanence, protection, and the right to exist on its own terms.